AI is all about tech, or one could think that it is. But in reality, it's about people that have to use the AI in firms. Today, we talk to Suriel Arellano, who is an author and speaker, also consultant, and he implements AI in firms. And he says it's all about the people. So let's dive in and see what Suriel has to tell us. Welcome to another episode of the Beginner's Guide to AI, an interview episode. It's Dietmar again at the microphone. Hope you have fun and learn a lot in this episode. So, as the podcast is not about me, but about Suriel, let's ask him directly. Suriel, welcome to the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about what got you into AI?
Absolutely. So, actually, I've been doing digital transformation for over 25 years. So, AI, although nothing new, for the last probably four years, I had the opportunity to study AI leadership in MIT. And of course, that got me more into, I have a bachelor's of science in leadership and management. So leadership has been a really good topic. I'm passionate about leadership, people. And when AI leadership from MIT kind of got into both of my paths, right? Leadership, technology. I love technology. So it is one of the things that just brought me together, and I'd be able to explain AI to people, what AI is, what AI is not. And I think that I'm just passionate about educating people about what AI is and what AI can do for them.
Let's jump in the AI leadership thing. You wrote a book, Leading in the Age of AI. So for many people, for me also, what is AI leadership?
Yeah, it's curious because I always say that AI is not a technical thing. I mean, of course, we know the technology and that it is composed of technology, but the portion of AI is not a technical thing; it's a leadership thing. And what I mean by that is that as leaders, we have the responsibility to either create technology solutions with AI or integrate AI solutions in a way that is ethical, that is moral, and always thinking about the human component of it. So it is actually thinking about the in my book, I have a quote that says technology needs to empower humanity and not replace it. So I make an emphasis that AI leadership is practically that, is being able to empower people in organizations rather than replacing them.
How does it practically work? Do you have an example? I mean, there's a firm and they want to implement AI.
Absolutely. So my first book, actually, that it's called The Golden Triangle. I use a framework that you probably heard of. It is the people, process, technology. And I do have a lot of clients that they start, and a lot of organizations, they start what they call digital first, right? They go for the technology. They try to recreate the processes. And unfortunately, people are an afterthought. So McKinsey Consulting says that 70% of digital transformations fail because people are resistant to change. And that is not a technology problem. That is more of a people management problem. Mm-hmm. And the way to go about a people first approach is that you look at the people part of the triangle, right? You look at the people first, look for the skill sets in your organization, look for, I usually advise my clients to, and we have different approaches, different frameworks, where we look at the people component. Then the processes, what I tell my clients is don't just bring AI or automation for the sake of bringing a new technology. Look at those processes that the people that in your organization really need to be more productive. again, if you go with the emphasis of empowering the people in your organization, you're going to look at those processes that will make them even to have a better quality of life. I know that we always talk about the work life balance, and sometimes is just yes, a piece of technology could empower that. And then the third component is technology. So after you look at the people component, then you look at the processes. What we help our clients is to look at the technology that it kind of like a checklist that they can look and see what type of technology. The good thing is that we're agnostic to technology. We're not. I used to work for IBM and HP, and in this case, I don't have an agenda on trying to bring a technology. Basically, is we are for our clients, for their organizations. So that's a little bit more practical, and of course I can share so many examples in the good and the bad and the ugly. But it's I think what I always say is take inventory of your people, and when you focus on your people, basically the technology, the process will come to place.
So it's like talking about the examples, good, bad, ugly. I love it. The good. Do you have an example of a good way? We don't talk about the ugly one, but maybe the good and the bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if more example, I had a client that so I always say I like to work with people that are actually in defense of integrating AI or not. Of course, I'm NDA, so I'm not gonna go into the details, but we were looking at a solution that we could bring the AI. So the first thing that we do is working with the people component is we have an assessment. We call it the AI readiness assessment. So one of the things that we do is in this assessment, it goes from 0 to 5, and if they are over 5. I'm sorry, over 3. 3 is the threshold. If they are over 3, then they are ready for us to continue working with them in terms of how we integrate AI. If they are below 3, which in this case this client was below 3, that means that they're not ready. In the leadership team, 1 or 2 people, I think they weren't ready to move, either because of what we said, right? Is a fear of being replaced, fear of not having control. So for those people, for those 2 people, I had a one-on-one, and I discussed all their questions, right? Maybe questions about fear, about the replacing people, and they're real, right? They're real questions, and so my goal is to be able to answer those questions that they have. So when they take that survey again, they go over 3. We want to move forward until everybody has that 3 threshold. And of course, that's at the leadership level. We have other frameworks at the people level, which we actually see with the managers and be able to see what are the fears that they have. We use a couple of change management process like AdCarb from ProSci that allow us to go through the different stages of change management. If you notice, I haven't talked about technology yet. It's about the people. It's getting the people prepared for that, which is a new book that I actually am in the middle of. It's called Culture Shift. So it's very important for us to for an organization that is going to move towards AI or towards a new technology, that they look at the culture, right? If the culture is nimble, agile into innovation, it's going to be an easy process. If they're not ready for that yet, in this terms, the client, we worked with the client to make sure that they were over that 3 threshold. And then from there, practically is we look at the processes. So in this case, they're a big manufacturing. So we look at the processes. There were really a huge digital transformation component because they were using very old systems. So for that, it was a little bit of like that, training the people, looking at the people, what they need, taking inventory again is like, what is it exactly? Let me understand your process. This is where we use what MIT uses, the X teams. X teams is a form of influencers. X means external, right? Is not only the people that are in charge of the technology are working on this digital transformation, but also external teams that are somewhat influencers with that. They look at into the project and provide that influence. And basically after that is like, we provide a report. These are the things that you need. These are the things to look in a software. And from there is either we help you if you want us to engage into looking for a software that fits your needs, or we also have the development team to actually provide that customized software for them. So in this case, we're still actually working with them in this customized software that we're creating. We're up to the MVP. So we're creating a minimum viable product for them. But yeah, this is one of examples that literally goes end to end into how organizations can actually create that. And I can share a number of projects, but yeah, it'll take us a couple of days.
You talked about fears, that mostly the problem is the workers or the managers or whatever, they have fear, and you go and you talk. What are the typical fears they have?
Yeah, so I say in my book, the first couple chapters is like, I grew up in the 80s, and I was born 70s, but I grew up in the 80s and watching movies like Star Wars, Terminator, or RoboCop. And usually depending on how you see the future, dystopian, utopian, you get that as like Terminator, right? Machines are going to take over the world and things like that. So normally the fears that I encounter in organizations is on the people component is, am I going to be replaced, right? Is the particular fear in their jobs, am I going to lose my job because I'm being replaced by technology? Second is, are they going to take over the world, right? Am I going to lose control? We as humans, we are naturally in with the fear that if I'm going to lose control. So that's another fear. The other fear is that, am I going to be able to, in this, and mostly for leaders, right? Am I going to be able to either afford it, or is it really something that can provide what I need in my organization, right, at the leadership level? So the things that we do and to mitigate some of those fears, mostly when we're working with people that are under the 3 threshold. Sometimes I sit down with them and practically it's just understanding where their fear is coming from. I have a certification in executive coaching and part of life coaching as well. So that helps me a little bit understand where these executives are, or managers within organizations, in terms of like sometimes these fears come from beliefs or cultural, and understanding where they're coming from, it's really important. So to mitigate that, what I always say, this is kind of my start, right, is we need to understand what AI is and what AI is not. So we understand that AI can be a powerful technology. But at the end, if you look at it, AI is just a software, right? It's a software that has the capabilities to absorb data, or in this case, get an input of data, and be able to provide an insight with that data. And the better it is trained, it's going to provide better insights. But and focus on the word train, because when we're training AI, is not that suddenly, oh, the AI is going to think by itself and then, it's going to take over the world. And no, the AI is only focused on what the AI was trained for. If you ever use ChatGPT, for example, and you try to bring questions about politics, for example, sometimes you'll get is like, well, I wasn't trained for that. Is my call it algorithm it was updated, I don't know, about 6 months ago. So going back again, that's an example. And when we create technology, we do this. We train the AI to focus on the things that we want the AI to do. So if that tells you something, that means that this piece of software, which was created, or in this case, programmed by someone, is now you understand that AI is just a tool, just becomes a tool like money or like weapons, is depending on who has the control of that is how it's going to be used. So that understanding, the common denominator to that formula is leadership. And that's when the full circle is, it comes down to leadership, right? Is it leaders are responsible on how we either create AI or integrate AI in our organizations in a way that is ethical, moral, and empathetic to our people. So I normally say is like, if you understand it in a way that's pretty much AI, like then I start giving examples, right? Is like Netflix. You use Netflix, you probably are using the AI component of it, right? Is after a movie tells you, well, what are the different options that you have based on what you watch. If you shop in Amazon, same thing. It gives you options and I know people, we sometimes call it the algorithm. Oh, the algorithm it's just basically a piece of software that was trained to enhance the user experience. So once you have a hand on what it is and what is not, you're not gonna go be fearful against the AI, the technology. Now, what you want to be is keep your leaders accountable, because then that shifts the focus on the technology and more so on the leaders that are integrating this technology. And it goes, we go again to the point of like, is the people component, right? That why is so important to talk about the people. Yeah. Hopefully that answers that question. I know it's loaded.
But it's interesting because you go away from the technology, and if what the people do is important, and that, I mean, leaders, if you take a normal firm is not evil. I mean, maybe there are evil players around, but most firms have one goal. They want to make money and they want to keep their employees. Everybody should be more or less happy, and it's a job, obviously, but I mean, most of the firms also are small, so they know each other, and they probably go drink a beer in the afternoon, in the evening probably, and so. And if you think about that as leadership, and those people won't start programming now an algorithm that is evil.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say is, and for those leaders, again, I have the two type of executives. The one that they see that AI is there, and they need to integrate AI because they feel that that's another leadership fear, right? That they think that the competition are gonna leave them, or their organization pretty much is gonna get obsolete because they don't integrate AI. And what I say is, follow our framework. Follow a framework. Go look at I have clients and mostly the management level of the companies that I consulted, that they already integrated that technology. Now people are quitting because they're resistant. I always say it is like, you could have mitigated this, or you can mitigate this in the future by just making sure that you have the people interest as a priority. And I know that C-level executives, some executives, they do have genuinely that interest, but because of those fears of like, oh, my organization is going to be obsolete, they run for the technology first, and then that's what ends up happening, right? People feel that now they're being replaced, they start quitting, looking for other jobs, and yeah, leaders, that's where they say is like, yeah, I should have done that. They hire someone like me, and then we try to mitigate that at the level of like the HR training level, just to make sure that they go back on track.
That's actually interesting because I just wrote down the business adoption question, how are business adopting? But it sounds like what you say is they all run for it, but they are mostly afraid to get left behind. So
yeah. And there are cases where actually I get a lot of questions from leaders and saying is like, well, I know I have to jump. I know I have to make that jump into integrating AI or bringing AI into my business. I don't know how to go about it, and but I know I needed it. And one of the things that we do based on the framework when we get to the technology aspect, that's where we say is like, well, let's start with a small proof of concept or a prototype. Don't start big. Let's start with a small POC, and then you grow from there. Like there are different stages, right? You have the POC or the prototype. You have an MVP, and then from there, you start growing and scaling. So if someone is interested and gets started, start it small. I'm fascinated at how much how reachable even financially has AI has become. Before, when I was working for IBM, we were talking about Watson, how expensive it was. Only big enterprise were able to integrate something like that. Now with OpenAI, Llama, and all these smaller companies that have created their own LLMs and things like that, now there's more opportunity for small businesses to start creating prototypes using AI. Of course, I would say do your due diligence before you start. Don't try to. I get a lot of also some clients that they started with developers that they're just adding plugins with OpenAI. I'm like, well, you need to know that it's open source, and everything that you do, your data, if you use something like ChatGPT, basically they're all training their models on your data. So of course, that's a conversation that's a little more technical that I usually don't get to. But if you're just a small business that trying to see how AI can make an impact, I would say look at your people, check on the process, and when you're trying to improve a process, start small. Start with a certain. That's if you're going to do it yourself as a leader, as a business owner. Just start with a small POC, a small proof of concept, and then scale from there. Of course, if you're a bigger enterprise, you can hire a consultant like me, like our company, or you can hire a consultant, and closer to you that aligns, and this is so important, that aligns to your culture, to your that's why we're so big in going first with people, because that is at the end we always see it is going to be successful if you are for your people.
Yeah, that is always a people's business. Yeah, this is firm is not yet, is not totally automated. No. How is your perception? Do you think most, because you have this framework or this numbers from 1 to 5, where do you think most of the firms are, in which level? I mean, do they have the possibility to adjust quickly?
So it really depends on. That's why we start with the top, the leadership team, right? Is we do this exercise with the top leadership. And you'll be surprised. There have been some that are 3, 4. I've never seen so far someone that is 5, like an organization that is 5, because there's always somebody, even if it's almost touching to the 3. We have sometimes a lot of 1s, a lot of 2.5s. And because our framework utilizes a different sections of like fears, what are the reactions in terms of the knowledge of what AI is. So there are different components in the survey, in the assessment. So depending on where they score lower than 3, that's when we put the attention to. So what I've seen in my experience is that some of those organizations, I haven't seen a 5. I've seen kind of like a 3.5, where we actually need to work with 1 or 2 executives, and again, being able to understand, being empathetic to them, and have a one-on-one with me and kind of answer their questions. I wouldn't say they go to 5, but at least they go to the 3 threshold when they understand that, most importantly, that they have control over what's the task at hand. So, but yeah, you have different. I have one executive. I'm all India. I'm not gonna name organizations or names, but I came across about 2, in one in particular, that it was a 1. And I'm actually proud to say that it was like a little bit over 3 when after the next assessment. And like I said, sometimes is the culture and the beliefs that you grow with are very important, because sometimes if we embedded a culture or a belief that technology is bad from the get-go, then that is going to be a big resistant to that change, because you're already looking, or in this case, this person is already looking at technology or even AI as a bad thing, as like is something that is completely going to change the world and is practically kind of like the end of the world. So when you ease those beliefs and saying, like I said, is basically just a piece of software that, like, don't go against the AI, go against the person who created that solution of AI, right? And that's why I keep saying to my executives is, make sure that when you're integrating AI or creating an AI solution, make sure that is non-biased, that is ethical, that is moral. And of course, there's always going to be the different type of styles and leadership, right? But this is where I say AI is not a technology thing; it's a leadership thing, because it's the traits of the leader that are going to be reflected in that technology. So yeah, it's very important, the leadership aspect of it.
So let's take a step back from the organization. I wanted to know, you started relatively early before the ChatGPT hype to go into the AI topic, but why? What was your reason to?
So I've always been fascinated by AI, and like I said, I worked with IBM about 2011, 2012, when Watson, although they had already brought Watson before, but Watson was at the pinnacle of that AI burst in the moment. I remember one of the most critics, it was Elon Musk, right? Because he was like, Watson, now they want to take, depending on what the hands are. It's so funny because he was such a critic, and now is like, okay, what are you doing with your self-driving cars and now the robots, and we're getting closer to iRobot, right? So it's definitely I was fascinated by it, and right before, I remember about 2020 when the first GPT version, not Chat GPT, but the GPT version that will allow you to more of the generative AI and make insights based on what you would do. I was seeing that there was a shift in AI because we were talking about more insightful technology than the regular automation type of thing, being able to systemize some of the mundane tasks, right? Generative AI kind of started to provide a lot more of that insight and recommendations. Of course, when ChatGPT came, that was like accessible to the world, right? But again, with my background in technology and leadership and AI, I'm just being fascinated by it ever since. Oh, there's nothing new. I mean, AI, it's been since the 1950s, so but I've just been fascinated by it.
But it's so, like you say, accessible now. And actually, that's the question. As we already had the Terminator question, the last question for you would be, how do you use AI? What do you use actually, and what do you do with it?
Yeah, so we do. So we are integrators as well. So we have a couple of technologies. We actually have one patent pending technology that we have using AI. And so basically we have different, the most powerful and flexible to be able to build on is GPT from OpenAI as an LLM, not ChatGPT, but the underneath technology. We use some other LLMs. We use Llama, Claude, just so in terms of testing out what the different. We're doing a lot of technology with voice recognition and voice assistance to have that more natural language that you can have a conversation and provide an insight. So that's pretty much what we use. Again, with the 01, well, since the 4.0 from GPT is being really powerful. So I think they're doing a great job. And again, and it goes all down to how we integrate in making sure we have this patent pending technology where it's not open to the public. It's where we definitely want to keep it out of the hands of the public, because it requires a certain responsibility to use that technology. And again, it goes back to the leadership component of creating it, right? So, but yeah, those are the technologies that you use now, and of course, we're exploring something like Watson now. that I'm on this side, outside of the technology provider. I'm more on the technology integrator. So we are looking at, but for small businesses, I think things like OpenAI, GPT is the best. I know some entrepreneurs use things like ChatGPT. We have our own instance of ChatGPT. Is private. That way we can do simulations. We are creating digital transformation simulations as well, but those are in private instances.
And you personally, what's your use case that you use ChatGPT and Co mostly?
So for us is been great. So me personally with our internal is data analytics. It is for us in looking at the part of the data. It's been incredible. Like we're creating this sim, we call it the DX sim, is be able to put a large amount of data, and it's just fascinated how the insights that you get from it, is you can even ask them is like, okay, create a graph or spider graph just to understand our market. I actually recently with my team, we sat down and say, like, well, let's look at our market analysts and analysis and see our competitors, what they're doing and things like that, just to be able to, and of course, my team is the one that does it. I don't even know what, but that's the cool part, right? Is that literally you can ask and it will provide you a very good insight. What other example? The voice recognition. It's unbelievable. We are creating a technology that can actually help people with like conversations, like you and I having a conversation right now, and the idea is we're using it mostly on the health aspect of it. Is like we are allowing the technology to serve more to the people, and again, without replacing anybody, but is providing transcribes for doctors, being able for them to, instead of having 2-3 people and translate their notes or transcribe their notes, pretty much they're able to do it in while they're talking, right, in dictation. So there's a lot of I mean, going back, I guess I'm going away, but the way I use it is, for me, is just the data, the aspect of it that you can actually grab. And as a leader, as an executive, I like to see all that, right? So have it in my hands is really powerful. It's really cool. We are living in the future.
That is the crazy thing. I was like, I'm also born in the 70s, so we have the same background, like movies, science fiction or whatever. And now, I mean, it's there. The future is here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the flying cars. We thought we were gonna have that in 20 something.
There's just like we have just the German the company that they wanted to make a taxi, a flying taxi, but they never make it. But the US competitors there, so that's coming. It's coming.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully in our lifetime, for those that like the technology.
So thank you for this interview. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you, and also your books or something? Like, I will put everything in the show notes, but please tell.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So everybody can go to SurielArellano.com. That is my personal brand, and they can see my books. I do executive coaching. I consult with organizations, and they can go as well to tech4digital.com, TEC, the number 4 and digital.com. That is my consultancy firm, and we will be happy to, even if it's just a conversation and they have questions. Absolutely, I would love to answer those questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Suriel. And I learned a lot. The people thing, change management, those concepts. And thank you for being on the podcast. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Okay. In the end, AI is yet another form of technology, and the rules for implementing technology, they are more or less the same. That means you have people and you have to convince them that they don't lose their jobs or the AI doesn't take over the world. So that's a job that is kind of relatable, because that exists for longer. It's just a new tech and it's new fears that we have to deal with, but the processes, they are already in place. They are people who can help you implement AI in your firm, like Suriel. And we always knew it, obviously. It's people that matter, not the AIs, at least not yet. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Beginner's Guide to AI. Don't forget to go to our newsletter page and get the newsletter. It's argoberlin.com/newsletter, and hit the subscribe button on your podcast app. Thank you. Turning off, it's Dietmar from argo.berlin.